What ending does Ruin continue from? Note, I wouldn't consider this a theory video, but more of a guesstimate sort of video, though it is a topic that I've seen brought up a bit recently. There's a lot of debate, and I've noticed more than a few comments about it, so I'm going to throw my hat into the ring. So, in my Ruin video I went on a short tangent that boils down to, God, this place looks awful! And yes, it does. Note, I don't mean design awful, I mean the place looks like it's had a bomb dropped on it, which I believe was my exact wording. This place is trashed, and assumedly, this isn't supposed to be that long after security breach. Assumedly, if Gregory is contacting a kid who he knows who is still a kid, the implied story already suggests an unreliable narrator of some vein, whether it's the voice claiming it's Gregory or our perception, but let's assume everything we know is true. Gregory is trapped in the Pizzaplex. Desperate and alone, he contacts Cassie, an assumed friend of his. Well, friend or sister. I noticed in the second of in-game cutscene that it looks like her blonde hair's been made brown, and while that doesn't necessarily mean that they're siblings, a change like that could be to make her look more related to Gregory than like Vanessa. But I'm getting off topic. Ruin seems to take place after the ending of Security Breach. But which one? Security Breach had 6 endings. We're going to be going through each one and rank up the possibilities of which is which and which has the highest chance of being the one Ruin continues from. Let's start from the most basic ending, the bad, escape, or alley ending. To get this ending, Gregory must escape at 6 a.m. through the front doors. He runs away from the Pizzaplex and is shown sleeping in a cardboard box in an alley. There is a newspaper which reveals that other children have gone missing. Or it would have if Gregory and Freddy didn't accidentally discuss it randomly in their goodbye scene, even though they hadn't previously talked about it. Oops. Anyway, Gregory scrunched up in his box when Vanny appears and the ending, well, ends. So, unlike some of the other endings we'll discuss, there's nothing in the leave ending that specifically contradicts anything we see in the Ruin trailer. Technically, Gregory could leave and then whatever happens to the Pizzaplex happens. But I think it's unlikely that this is the ending they're going to follow up on. It really is the worst ending, as it just has the least amount of content. A reward for not continuing to search the Pizzaplex. Plus, it would mean that there would be a lot of narrative ground that would have to be covered from how this got to this. Unnecessary explanation of how Gregory got back into the Pizzaplex, likely taken by Vanny, survived, and stuff happened. It would make more sense to follow up on one of the others and cut out some of that needed backlogging. So, Ruin could continue from the leave ending, but I think it's unlikely. Next, we'll be looking at the van ending, also known as the loading dock ending, or perhaps the good ending. In this happy ending, Gregory and Freddy escape in a van from the Pizzaplex and zoom off across the countryside, until Freddy shuts down. Gregory manages to revive him with a car battery. They share a sweet hug, and then they drive off, Papa Bear and Gremlin Child facing the future together. Unfortunately, Ruin discredits this from being the canon ending. While Gregory and Freddy could have left, and the Freddy we could see in the trailer could be a replacement, and Gregory's voice could be a fake, what we can't overlook is the post-credit scene that shows Monty replacing Freddy and Mr. Hippo being added to the band. The Pizzaplex in Ruin doesn't have any adjustments to reflect this new cast. And we know from Bonnie's replacement that Fazbear Entertainment can get new characters on the merch in a pretty speedy manner. If Monty and Mr. Hippo were now fixtures in the band, Freddy's face wouldn't still be prominent on the entrance sign. Because of this, I think this pretty much confirms that Ruin cannot continue from the loading dock ending. The next ending is the VIP ending, or the Fire ending, an ending I hear a lot of people bring up, but as you'll soon see, this isn't as cut and dry as it seems. In the VIP ending, Gregory collects enough stuff that he and Freddy can escape through the fire escape, only to find Vanny waiting on the roof. Vanny grabs Gregory, but Freddy can see her with Roxy's upgrades and tackles her off the roof. He falls to his presumed destruction and Vanny's presumed death. Gregory runs down and takes off Vanny's mask, revealing it to be Vanessa. In a post-credit scene, though, Vanessa is shown atop the burning building. Whether this was a gag or a confirmation that they are separate people has not been confirmed. Now, because of the extensive damage to the Pizzaplex, a lot of people think that the VIP fire ending is canon. However, I regret to inform you that this isn't the case, or it doesn't look to be the case. Looking as best as I could around the dilapidated Pizzaplex, I don't see fire damage. And sure, the fire was on the top floor, but to cause this severe damage, the fire assumedly would have had to spread downstairs, right? The animatronics also do not have fire or smoke damage. The closest thing I see to fire damage is some black dirt on the floor of a multi-golf, but that could be just dirt. If you recall, the fizzy Faz tanks in the basement were surrounded in a blackish-looking sludge water, likely to cover up the unused map that was originally going to be there. The sewer was full of this dark black sludge as well, and it was even smeared all over the blob. Now, I'm not saying the blob's making rounds up here, but I am saying that this doesn't look like soot. Now, remember how I said that the Freddy could be a replacement and our Freddy escaped? Well, if the place caught on fire and was presumably abandoned, they wouldn't have replaced Freddy. And Freddy was definitely smashed outside in his fall, not in Fazer blast. Now, yes, it is possible that the Pizzaplex caught on fire, was rebuilt, then fell into ruin. That's a pretty big gap, and that wouldn't explain the damage. Then you would have to have a second catalyst of the damage, and I think it would be very unlikely to have the story say there was a fire, then it was rebuilt, and then it was abandoned, you know? So, with all that in tow, I think it's pretty unlikely that the VIP ending is the ending Ruin is coming off of. Now we have the Disassembled Vanny ending. Self-explanatory in the most gruesome way, Vanny disassembles Freddy using the staff bots before chasing Gregory. Gregory escapes upstairs to the security office and uses her controller to turn the bots on her. They tear her apart, and Gregory heads back to Freddy, only to find him shutting down. Freddy ruffles his hair and calls him his superstar before he deactivates. After the credits, it is revealed that the Pizzaplex is closing for now, but preparing to reopen next season. Now, the biggest thing going for this ending is that Glamrock Freddy is damaged in the same way he appears to be in Ruin, and he's lying in Fazer Blast, where he is in Ruin. The only detriment is that there wasn't any obvious damage done to the building, so how would it get so destroyed in this amount of time isn't explained. Sort of like the fire ending, there's a gap there. Now, I noticed in one section of the trailer video that part of Monty Golf's golf course has been pulled up and set aside. This wasn't damage, but something done either by vandals or workers. From how properly it's set up, and the fact that it's not taken away, likely workers. So perhaps they were attempting some sort of renovations and it didn't go through. Basically, Freddy's didn't end up reopening. Why? Well, my best guess would be either the animatronics went totally feral, something else kept the workers out, or news got out about a woman getting torn apart by robots, perhaps as rumors, and suddenly the bad PR caused Fazer Entertainment to ditch the place and instead focus on their other venues. That being said, I'm not totally convinced on this ending, but you can see where it lines up to be a little more possible than noticed at first glance. The Save Vanny ending has almost the same thing going for it. The ending is the same, except instead of disassembling Vanny, Gregory uses the Princess Quest arcade machine to free Vanny. She discards her mask. Gregory repairs Freddy's head in the head repair up in the West Arcade. Carrying him with him, Freddy encourages Gregory to approach the freed Vanny. The three of them are then sitting up on a hill, eating ice cream and watching the sunrise. So there's a lot going on for this ending. Firstly, it is the only 3-star ending in the game, which means it is technically the hardest ending to achieve, even if it isn't all that hard. Freddy's body would still be located in Fazer Blast since Gregory just took his head with him, and even Vanny's mask would be out where someone, like Cassie, could find it. And as seen in-game, Cassie is using Vanny's mask to see some strange neon flip side. Time for the except. Except, this mask is not the one Cassie is using. No, the one Cassie uses looks to be the mask from Help Wanted or the Princess Quest minigame, not Vanny's normal mask. So that's not usable evidence. The mysterious damage to the building also still applies. Now, as I mentioned in my Ruin video, if Freddy in Ruin stands up and is missing his head, this will confirm the Saving Vanny ending, as this is the only ending where Freddy loses his head. I had a comment point out that his hat is still with him, but on closer inspection, what looks like a hat actually has a shaft underneath it, like a pole. And from the repair minigames, we know that Freddy's hat works more like a magnet without a post underneath. Though, as of right now, we haven't seen shattered Freddy's head or neck area at all, likely setting up for a reveal of his spooky shattered face, or perhaps another funky endo head like Roxy's got, but it could also be the reveal that he's headless. That's the sort of thing we shouldn't find out until we're in-game. Now on to the last ending, the assumed true ending or Burntrap Ending, the only ending with fully animated cutscenes, the only one that confronts the puppeteer behind Vanny and the other animatronics, Burntrap, and only accessible by taking out all of the glam rocks and discovering your way into the sinkhole, discovering a pizzeria abandoned to time. There is a reason people assume that this is the true ending of Security Breach, even if it's underwhelming, and was infuriating to get on release because there was that whole no saving thing, which, screw that. Gregory and Freddy make it down to the mastermind hidden underneath the Pizzaplex, Burntrap, where he tries to possess Freddy. Gregory ends up freeing Freddy by burning the bunny, and then he must fight off Chica, Monty, Roxy, and the Blob, a big amalgam mound of old parts and wiring. After burning Burntrap a few times, a fire breaks out in the pizzeria, and Burntrap is taken by the Blob. Freddy and Glamrock Freddy and Gregory run through a now collapsing sinkhole, the fire assumedly causing the structure to become unstable, and fall in. Suddenly it cuts to Freddy and Gregory out on a sunny hill. The game ends. I'll be upfront, ignoring the fact that I do subscribe to this being the true ending, I do think this is the most likely option for being the ending Ruin follows up after. Because this is the only ending where we see something that could have caused this much damage to the Pizzaplex. So, a fire does break out in the basement, that small section of the basement. But the fire isn't the main problem. When Freddy and Gregory are escaping, the actual foundation of the Pizzaplex is caving in. The sinkhole in Roxy Raceway is giving in. Normally, that might not be enough to take out a building this big, but we know Fazbear Entertainment skips on safety regulations and didn't go through building a proper foundation, as there was constant cracks and repairs on the raceway because of it. Actually, on second thought, a sinkhole could definitely take out a building this big. All it would have to do is displace the foundation enough that it shifts, and you'll see massive structural failures all over the place. Heck, we know for a fact that Fazbear Entertainment at least at one point hired a company known as low-budget building contractors. While they didn't build the Pizzaplex, it goes to show that they spared every expense when it comes to repair work. They were cheaping it out. Likely because on whiteboards in the trailer for Security Breach, which were wiped in the final game, there were notes mentioning financial troubles in the Pizzaplex, understandably. If Fazbear Entertainment knew about the sunken pizzeria and hid it, then it would be in their best interest to at least build a safe foundation over it so they didn't have problems. But they didn't, because they're always skimping. Their toys are flammable, most of their emergency exits don't work, their entire security system is easily hackable, and their foundation is crummy. So when Roxy Raceway totally caves in, there's a possibility that affected other parts of the building and that the rest is due to scavenging and wear. And because of this, I think the Burntrap ending is the most likely ending. It doesn't explain why Freddy's in Fazer Blast, but notably there is a staff bot trapped underneath him in the Ruin trailer, but not in the cutscene of the Disassembled and Save Vanny endings. That could just be an oversight or simplification of the cutscenes, but it is also possible that Freddy made it into Fazer Blast right beside Roxy Raceway and then was crushed. The only thing really going against this is Freddy and Gregory on the Sunlight Hill at the end of the game. But the idea that they just escaped the sinkhole and made it outside, I don't know, it feels weird to me. I noticed I keep mentioning how unbelievable it is that Freddy and Gregory got out of the sinkhole without giving any exact information on how deep this sinkhole is. To clarify, they head slightly into the foundation of Roxy Raceway and find an old elevator. They then ride down the elevator, before which Freddy warns that it doesn't look like it'll survive a trip back. That doesn't mean it won't, this is likely just a signal to the player that they can't come back, but let's say this is a flimsy elevator. They then walk through a passageway into the underground pizzeria, down into another hole, fall through a ceiling, and land in Burntrap's hiding spot under the building. Now, to escape this, Freddy and Gregory would have to climb back up through the ceiling, back up through the collapsed shaft that the blob was in, out of the pizzeria, down the passageway, into the rickety elevator and right out. And that's without the fire reaching them, without anything falling on them, and without the crumbling foundation causing the on-its-last-legs elevator to fall. I cannot stress that last point enough. When we see Freddy and Gregory running in the final cutscene, it's towards that elevator, and we can see stuff falling all around them. Yet, assumedly, it still works, because our next cut is them outside. It's kind of strange. It is always possible that the ending's just kind of stretching it for the purpose of, oh, well, they just got out, you know? They didn't really want to go to the details of how they got out. But it could also be that there's something else going on here. I'm not going to say that what we're seeing isn't what actually happened, but I feel like this ending was so sudden, so quick, that there could be a catch there. But who knows? As I said, they might both be dead and this is the afterlife. There are, however, a few more possibilities that might be as likely, or more slightly less, one of which is that Ruin continues from an ending not shown in Security Breach. That would be a weird move, but that is a possibility, like a variation of an ending instead of the one we got. Another possibility is that Ruin is a prequel to Security Breach. Now this would be a real hard leg pull, but it is possible. Apparently there's a bunch of Pizzaplexes out there, so perhaps there could be like another Pizzaplex that looks almost like the one in Security Breach that had similar damage done to the animatronics, and that after that one collapsed and Gregory got stuck there, maybe connected to the book somehow, he gets freed by Cassie and then goes to the Pizzaplex that we see in Security Breach following Vanny, maybe? I guess that would explain why Cassie has the old mask instead of the new one, because Vanny abandoned the old one and moved on to a new Pizzaplex. But as you can probably tell from my tone, I'm not entirely convinced of this. I'm just kind of talking off the top of my head. This would definitely feel like a squeeze, a Shyamalan twist. I don't think this is how it's going to go, but hey, it's a possibility. Technically, there's enough wiggle and stretch room to make it work. Another very possible option is that there will be no confirmation and that it will be kept purposefully vague so that any ending could work. How this could be is if Freddy is not confirmed to be the same Freddy and that Gregory is not really Gregory and we never find out where Gregory is. I'm not really sure about this idea, but it could be an option. But I guess I'm going to end it there. To sum up my thoughts, I think the Burntrap ending lines up with the state of the Pizzaplex and Ruin the most, but the location of Freddy nods to either the Disassembled ending or the Saving Vanny one. And all of this hinges on the fact that Ruin takes place not too long after Security Breach, because really, if there was enough of a time gap, you could probably write the Pizzaplex's damage off with that alone, but that would bring into question how Gregory knows a child who's coming in to rescue him, and that would be something lore relevant. Though it is also important to keep in mind how much more additional information would be required to explain certain scenarios and whether they could fit it into this DLC. Unless, of course, we got a Hello Neighbor brand non-ending. Anywho, I hope I enlightened you on this video primarily about sinkholes. Thank you for watching.